What exactly constitutes for a bind to work? There are 5 things you need to consider. Number 1, gap width and design of the yo-yo. Most throws have a gap width of 4.4 millimeters to 4.8. To know the gap width of your yo-yo, simply type the yo-yo's name in Google and look for the specs. You'll probably find it there. Number 2, response type and pad grippiness. Most response systems rely on something called a response pad. It's the rubber or silicone ring inside the yo-yo which can be replaced once they start to get worn down. Pad grippiness is what determines the amount of friction between the string and the yo-yo. Most pads are made from silicone because it's smooth in subtle interactions but tight in fast interactions.
Unlike the infamous hot glue DIY pads that provide very little grip, which can also be beneficial if you're playing on a really snaggy yo-yo. Although if you are going to try this, I recommend only using it on one side, just so that there's a little bit more grip in there.
Number 3, string thickness. Most yo-yo strings that are used are size normal, fat XL, and others, though it depends on the brand you use. Just remember to use yo-yo string and not anything like yarn.
And the reason for that is that yo-yo strings are specifically made to be stronger in tensile strength, consistent in length, and has a built-in loop for the axle.
Number 4, the string length. Remember, string length has a massive contribution to your binds. This goes hand in hand with string thickness too. A quick example of this, using a long but thin string would bind pretty much the same way with a short but thick string. And lastly, with that being said, number 5, bind technique and string proportions. Bind technique is pretty straightforward. If you use a lot of string to execute a bind, the yo-yo is going to grab too early and you'll be left with a tail. But if you use too little string, the yo-yo might not even grab onto the yo-yo at all and just slip all the time.
In learning your first bind and potentially all the following binds you'll learn in the future, it's best to recognize these 5 steps so that you can understand how to execute the bind and also answer the question why the yo-yo isn't coming back.
Like your dad, ooh. Hello, Bubsy here. I totally wasn't held at gunpoint to record my lines. Nice to meet you. Follow my socials, I do art sometimes.
Oh, my phone's about to die. Oh, I see.